Hello and welcome to another episode of Darkside Offside. With me, Rob Morgan, and as always, joined by my co-host, Conor Morgan. This week's guests are two friends of ours. We have the never-aging Mr. Leigh Laurie, and we have his sidekick, Mr. Ethan Leigh. How you doing, boys?
Good, thanks, Rob. Good. How's it going yourself?
Good, lad, good. Have you still been working through lockdown?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. So I got my own accountancy practice, so I managed to switch everything to online. So I can work from home, and my office is just 2 minutes away, so it all works out well.
That's great. You, Heath?
Yeah, been the same, been flat out really. Haven't really stopped because you've got to keep certain things running to make the steel, but it did go a bit quiet towards like the end of summer last year, as obviously things were shutting down borders and cargo ships couldn't get to the destinations, etc. But yeah, it's looking really good now, leading into this year.
That's good. That's good.
Nice, bud. Before we go on, boys, we must mention why we're wearing these t-shirts. They are to raise money for the charity Rookwood Hospital and to show support to Adam Harcombe's road to recovery. Adam, a former Watstown, Latmavadra, Porth and Astrid Rugby player, suffered life-changing injuries back in September 2020. Adam is currently going through a significant recovery phase at Rookwood Hospital Neurosciences Specialist Rehabilitation Unit. The reasons for the hashtags on the t-shirts are: Adam is inspired by Michael Bolton's song "I Will Go the Distance" from the Disney film Hercules. He is also inspired by Ant Middleton's book Zero Negativity. Ultimately, Adam is using this platform to encourage people who are going through negative times to feel positive and encourage and motivate people to stay positive. AH12 is his initials and play number. There are a number of ways you can make a donation to the Rookwood Hospital charity, and they are: buy a Zero Negativity t-shirt for £10, text PROP in all capital letters to 70085, or PROP no info, all capital letters, to 70085, or visit the Just Giving page. All details are on the Instagram and YouTube page of Headspace for Harcombe. Ethan, I believe you played with Adam in Run the Schools, you know?
Yeah, did a little bit of time there, and played well against him. I think he played for Ponty age grade because Porth didn't have an age grade side my age, and like through the school and stuff like that. I've never played against him in like seniors, but what I remember, like he was still playing in the centre, and he was a good solid player, like good tackler, just a good all round player really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like he says in his video, when he played for Watstown or whatever, it's known for being an hard side, and that's what he was. He was tough, like.
Yeah.
But with that, like, I think the way he's conducting himself with all this is absolutely fantastic, and his road to recovery. To have an accident like that and be on the recovery the way he is so quick, and the way he's brought people together as well, not just in the rugby community, like just the community in general. Like, it's brought so many people on board, and people should look at it and think, well, this guy is doing brilliant for himself, and people can kick on themselves from that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for me,
he's inspiring everyone, isn't he?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It really is. Like,
but for me, like, no one knows what you'd be like in that situation, but like you said, it's truly inspirational what he's doing, and the motivation he has every day just to get out of bed and like set like new goals and beat those goals is just like, I can't believe it, to be honest.
yeah,
Well, you got to look at it, boys. The guy's been through hell. He's going through hell, and he's just staying so positive. We've got to take your hat off to the guy. Like, you really have.
Yeah. And one of the things is he wants to be an inspiration, and like the fact we're talking about it and doing all this just shows that he's doing a great job at it as well.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, well, buddy. So, boys, we're going to go on to rugby and where it all started for you. So, Leigh, tell us about your playing career with Gilbach.
Well, to start off with, I never ever wanted to play rugby. I thought
No?
it was the most stupid game in the world, honestly. When the Six Nations were on TV, I'd go out and play football. Didn't want to play it at all. Then they had the genius idea to set up mini rugby in Gilbert. So all my friends went there. So I had a choice to make. Do I stay with my friends or do I become a loner? So I started playing rugby. I remember my first game, hammering down with rain, freezing cold, stood in the middle of this field with a t-shirt on thinking, what is the point of this game? And then all of a sudden, you just get hooked, didn't you? I had my older brother shouting and screaming at me, telling me how to tackle this guy, get on with this, get up, back up, tackle someone else. And you just get caught up in it then. And then go through mini rugby, youth rugby, senior rugby. So yeah, all done in Gilbert.
Yeah, I've always played for Gilbert.
Sorry?
I've always played for Gilbert.
No, I started off in Gilbert, went all through mini rugby and youth, but then in the seniors, I played for Pontyclean for a little while as well. So went on there, won the league with them. Then I moved up to Somerset. So I played for a team called Ivel Barbarians, won the league with them as well. And then came back to Gilbert and then carried on playing for the rest of my years in Gilbert. And finished at the ripe old age of 27.
And what about you, Heath? When did you start playing? And tell us your story.
Yeah. I started playing, I think it was roughly under 8s for, I think it was, well, less than a handful of games, I think. I think because of my father and things like that, you know, just seeing him play all the time, I thought, oh, I'll give this a go. But really deep down, I was just loving football at the time. And in school, and it was only a couple of us. We all played football, whereas all the boys that I know now all played rugby. So I started playing it, like, say, less than midway in under 8s. I came back then in under 11s after a club tour to Scotland. And I started off as a prop, funny enough. I was like one of the biggest kids on the park. But it soon caught up.
Still are, Heath.
Yeah, I wish. Maybe circumference, yeah. And then as obviously went through all age grade and that, changed positions. I went from props, second row, back row. And then I think it was under 14s then, I ended up moving to full back. And that's where I stayed then for quite a bit. I played rugby league in the summers, leading from like under 14s to like youth. I had a good spell with Valley Cougars, and I was lucky enough to get selected for East Wales there. And we disbanded then, unfortunately. So me and a few of the boys went to Bridgend Blue Bulls. Had a good few years down there as well. Obviously went to youth. Then I had to move away to Aberystwyth to uni, and I ended up playing rugby league there, not union. And I gotta be honest, I don't regret not playing uni there, because I met a great bunch of boys, and we ended up winning some really good games. Like we won the British Plate in my first year and things like that.
Yeah.
And some good opportunities. Played the odd game for the youth leading, like while I was in uni. Obviously when you boys had the good cup runs and things like that, I was there, do you know what I mean? Come down, support. And I obviously went into seniors then. But I think last year was my first year with the first, I think, and I couldn't even finish the full year. So yeah, it's still going on for that now.
So here's a question for you, Ian. What do you prefer, rugby league or rugby union? Playing now, so not watching.
I would say league personally, but I've just come back into union kind of thing, so still, and I moved positions as well, so
yeah,
still sort of getting used to that.
That's fair enough, but fair enough.
Just go back to Laurie there now, right? Remember the Mayor Chamber Cup final, Law?
I do, I remember it well, yeah.
You scored 2 tries?
Yeah, and Rob, can I tell him I thought he was going to drop that ball before you passed it to me? I was going into the corner and the ball was coming across the line.
Today.
Sorry?
I thought I was in myself, but I couldn't make it. So.
Oh, honestly, you juggled that ball. I had my hands on my head. I thought you dropped it. And then you passed it to me just as about 5 guys were coming across. I thought, this is going to hurt.
Yeah, it did as well. I was like, all I could see is the legs in, yeah.
Full matchsticks, the guy waving.
I think that was the last game we ever had for you, Lowe, wasn't it? Is that
It was, yeah. It was a good way to finish, wasn't it? And Ethan's old man had man of the match that day as well.
Probably told me about 50 times, like this. Just
I should have had man of the match for them 2 passes.
You should have, Rob. You should have. And I should have had one for top try scorer.
Unbelievable.
No, it was a good game. We had a good team and we played well that day as well. Do you know what? It was the only time in my entire youth career that the coaches come up to me and said, Leigh, if you want to run the ball today, run it. Do whatever you want. All the other times they tell me to kick it from a 22.
Mad.
Yeah, it's a good game, good day.
All right, then, guys. Let's go on to the next topic. It's a subject that is being discussed a hell of a lot at the moment, and that is concussion. I am right in saying that you've both had concussion. Would you like to say a bit about that, Lo?
Yeah, I tried to count up the number of times I've had concussion. I think I got up to 17, and I think about 5 of those were out cold as well, and they're the ones I can remember. And I thought that was a lot, but then when I was doing the level 2 coaching, I was with some Ospreys players, and they said it happens almost every game. And they were encouraging, like, a newbie who came in and said, look, I got up, I was concussed. I didn't even know where to run. I was running the wrong direction. And they gave him a tip and said, just follow the rest of your team. So I think it's very common in rugby these days. So even at 17, I don't think it's that much. But certainly I would say concussion is probably one of the worst injuries I've had. And I've broken bones, dislocated joints, had stitches, but concussion for me is the worst ones.
Heath?
yeah, same. Well, not the amount as Laurie. I think I can remember having it 3 times, I think. And like what Laurie says, up there one of the worst because you just feel like so zoned out and your mood can change. Like the stupidest little things can it can just mess you up a bit. Like you sat there and swear like someone's trying to cut your legs and your arms off. But yeah, it's not a nice injury to have, especially if you're out cold for a few seconds. And I remember my one last year. I remember making the tackle and seeing a bright pair of orange boots, but then I woke up facing the other direction, like thinking, how did I end up here? Like,
yeah.
So what types of concussions did you have, boys? Was it strikes to the head, or was it impact and he was shook?
I think for me, most of them are from the tackles down your head, like just not in the right position. And that's most of them. I have had some where you've had like a kick in the head as well, but mainly because of tackling.
Yeah, mine has all been impact to the head, straight to the head. Mine have 1, 2 actually. I hit someone's knee in a tackle, and last year then I clashed heads. The tackle technique was fine. It was just unfortunate that someone was making the exact same tackle, same direction, clashed heads.
Yeah, well, there is 2 types of concussion, boys, and obviously there's the one where you get struck in the head, and the other one is like impact. So say you got tackled and somebody hit you in the chest, and your head went forwards and backwards. You can get concussion from that, from the shake.
So like a whiplash effect.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. So, but both practically impossible to stop, really, in a contact sport. So it's about lowering the risk, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's 3 parts to it, really. One is about the prevention side of things, so doing what you can to stop it from happening in the first place. And this is for me where I think there are a load of rule changes that need to happen that will help with that. Then the second part is about the mitigation. So things like teaching children how to tackle properly from a young age, so they get the technique right. And then it's about managing the situation as well. So like recognizing when somebody might have a head injury, kind of dealing with it, allowing for recovery afterwards. I think there's quite a bit that can be done yet to improve it still.
Yeah, just a question on that, right? A player who gets concussed, how long must they rest be before they can come back to play rugby?
It's 3 weeks, isn't it?
It's based on the age grade as well, so it's more for younger kids. But I think the WRU one is 2 weeks rest at the minimum, and then recovery backwards, isn't it? into
Let's
play.
just talk about seniors, right? I've been reading some websites the last couple of days, and I got something off the BBC, and it's actually 6 days.
Well, 2 seasons ago in a game, I got knocked out, went off the pitch, and because it was a pre-season friendly, they asked me if I was all right. I went back on later on, and I was completely out cold as well. So
Yeah.
that was a bit silly, I think, to be honest.
The thing is, though, if you know, it's like in a game scenario, like when you're playing and something like that happens, sometimes you can get back up and sort of feel okay, and you sort of like think, oh, I'll run it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not sort of letting the team down by going off or whatever. And so, you know, some people like on that game, you might have carried on and played better or exactly the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of things you got to take the scenario into it as well, because especially at like international level and things like that. Imagine playing for your country, getting knocked out. You want to try your hardest to go back on the field, even though they got the protocols.
Yeah.
They want to try their hardest to get back on.
And I think that's the thing that's changed the most for me is the officials and the governing bodies. Like they really get into grips with this now, and there's loads of guidance and stuff there. And that wasn't there when you and I were playing, Rob. And I think it's definitely there, but I don't think it's filtered all the way down through the different levels of rugby yet. And I think there's a lot to be done for that.
Oh yeah,
It's all about awareness, isn't it? It starts with the player. If he feels concussed, he's got to tell someone. The players around him, if they see that he's concussed, got to tell the coach, the ref, got to tell that player, look, you've got to go off. The referee, the coaches, you know, maybe fans watching. You know what I mean? It's everyone really. Everyone needs to be made aware of it.
It is, and I think it's the officials and the top levels of rugby. I think they've got it nailed. Okay, everybody's switched on to this. But as you're coming down the levels, I think the coaches, I think you still got people who are kind of like old school and just saying, okay, they're not really aware of it and the effects. And then the last bit for me is that the players, the cultural change, they need to put their hand up and say, look, these are the effects. This is what I'm suffering with. But I think the challenge is with concussion, it kind of gets worse the longer it goes on. So it's not the immediate effect. It's 30 minutes, an hour later, 12 hours later, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah,
let me just read you a fact, boys, that I got to be all right. Following concussion, every player must go through the graduated return to play, GRTP, process, whereby the participant undertakes a phased return to exercise and contact before being cleared to play again. While a player is technically able to play within 6 days of suffering a concussion, they can only start the GRTP steps when they are symptom-free. It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. It's like 6 days to, 6 days.
Yeah, I think that needs to be altered, definitely. Because when it happened to me, I went to the hospital about it, and they gave me like a pamphlet thing, and it said at least 3 weeks. Whether that was down to the grading of the concussion, I don't know. It seemed like a pretty, standard leaflet they give out to someone who's there for concussion, and that was like a minimum of 3 weeks. So I think it definitely needs to be altered somewhere.
Yeah, and I know when I did the first aid stuff for the mini rugby, again, there was a leaflet in there, and I think it was 2 weeks, like nothing, no running, nothing at all. So kind of looking at the physical side of things as well as the cognitive aspect. It's quite interesting. I thought I can't tell the kids in mini rugby that if they have a head injury, they shouldn't be in school because they can't do any maths or any thinking. Can you imagine that? They'd all be having head injuries on a Sunday, taking a week off school.
Yeah, definitely. Another couple of things here, boys. England head coach Eddie Jones has also revealed the game's authorities are considering banning tackling above the waist for any player under 12 to encourage and develop safe technique from an early age. Numerous former players have also called for a limit in the amount of contact training done in the week. So I know Sam Warburton came out the other week and said, especially at international, they should only be doing 10 minutes in that week before a game.
I don't know. If you need to work on specifics like rucking and things like that, maybe bring in sort of protocols like you got to wear a scrum cap while you're doing it and things like that. When it's game time, then like it's up to you. That's your choice. But
Yeah, but
I think
that might come a time now where we, as coaches, it will maybe cut down and they just say you only allowed to 10 minutes. But when they say contact, I mean, I think they say 100% going at each other. I mean, you can still do ruck techniques and tackling techniques, without going absolutely mental,
Yeah, and I know, like, from uni and things like that, head guards and like gum shields and that, they do head guards reduce the risk of like soft tissue damage rather than concussion itself. And gum shields can reduce it by like 50%. But you get different types of gum shields like for different types of sports. And I know they got ones out now where they actually measure the force. And I was watching a game down in Swansea Uni that a few months back, and a boy who was wearing one of those gum shields got knocked out, and it was really bad. Like you could probably hear the contact and everything, and the force that. Well, I asked Calvin Iblett, he was recording the game, and I asked him, how was our boy and whatever. He said, the force that was in that gum shield was ridiculous. Like it is dangerous, but it's adapted with the times as well,
Yeah. I think it's really important going forward. Just touching on a couple of things that Laurie said, that it needs to be coached as well and trained by players. How to enter rucks properly. You don't need to go into a ruck 100 miles per hour. I mean, if you check your feet just before you hit the ruck, wrap your arms. You know what I mean? Tackling the same as well. It's shoulder height at the moment. I think that they might bring it down to below the nipples now in a few years' time.
Yeah, it's a lot more technical now as well. Like, do you remember Alex Popham coming out about his concussion troubles? And I think it was Steve Thompson, was it?
It is. Yeah.
I think Alex Popham retired about 2008, 2007 maybe, and even back then, which doesn't seem like that a long time ago, the game has changed so much, like technically, and you find a lot more players with scrum caps and things like that now. I find personally, so even from at the top level, is showing that the measurements are in place and they're quite simple to work down the ladder.
I think there's one rule that I would change to avoid the contact, and I think the number one stat for head injuries is where players clash heads, where they're trying to hold the guy up in the tackles, because then they get the maul and they get the ball. If you change that rule to say, well, look, if you're in a tackle situation like that and there is a maul, then it doesn't go to the defending team, it stays with the attacking team. Then the incentive to try and hold someone up is gone. And then they're going to be much more about taking them to the floor, which might speed up the game as well. And you have a more entertaining game as well. And it's just one simple rule to change that.
Yeah, good point, Leigh. Good point.
Well, I was listening to a podcast the other day with Alex Popham on it, and he was saying that over the years of him like training and playing, I think he had like over 100,000 point of contact to the head, and that could be like minimal force, but a lot of force as well. But he was like exaggerating the point that like how much he loves rugby and like there's only so much you can change, but to keep him more entertaining and stuff. But he said that when you were back training, like they were going flat out, like 100% all the time. Whereas like now, obviously we it's all structured. You do like defensive stuff with like pads and like sausage pads and stuff, and then you do some attacking. But like Alex Popham said, everything was like live throughout all the sessions.
And let's be honest, he was a bit of an erratic player anyway when he.
Yeah.
He was when he.
Yeah, but I tell you what, there's a film called Concussion, which is out in 2015 with Will Smith in, where he's playing the doctor, Bennett Amalu, and he looks at concussions in the NFL. And basically, the things that they see and they talk about is frightening. And said the long-term effects it's almost like putting concrete in your brain. So it really impacts the way you kind of live your life. So like memory loss, you got depression, mutilation, violence. And I know years ago they would have been career-enhancing characteristics in Gilbert, but these days these are dangerous things to have. So it's a really interesting film. If you watch that, it'll tell you all about concussion, and you get an idea of the effects you get as well.
Ricky Flutie retired early because of concussion. Like, and he was on the Lions in 2009, and he went back down to, I think is he a New Zealander, like
Yeah.
born or Australian?
Yeah.
He picked up so many concussions in such a short span of time, and he said he was sat there one day, and his kids were playing, and something went wrong, and he was like, he could feel himself boiling in temper, and that's like in front of his kids, like young kids as well. And that's when he knew. Then he was like, I gotta stop playing, otherwise it's just gonna wreck my life and my family's life as well.
Yeah. For me, it cost me 10 pints of beer once. It's down in Pontyclean. Honestly, it's serious, guys. 10 pints of beer. Okay, we was having a kicking competition before one of the games, and nobody could get it over the post. So I stepped up. They said, put the beer kitty in, kicked it first time. I should have had 10 pints of beer. And I could never drink those. I would have given them to the boys as well. But I ended up in hospital for the night with concussion. Missed out on all of it. So
Brutal. Brutal.
terrible, isn't it, this concussion?
All right, then, boys, we're going to move on a little bit now. We're going to go to joke versus joke. So this is where everyone will tell a joke. And this week, I will vote on which joke is the best. So, Rob, you're up first to serve.
All right, here we go. Right, so a gorilla walks into a bar. The barman thinks, I'll rip this gorilla off now. He doesn't know what the price is. So the gorilla sits down next to the bar. He says, I'll have a pint of Carling, please. So the barman serves in the Carling. The gorilla gets £10 out of his fur, pass over to the barman. The barman goes to the till, comes back and gives him a pound change. The gorilla puts the pound in his fur, carries on drinking. The barman leans in the bar and he says, don't get many gorillas in here, Seabert. And the gorilla says, not surprised, fucking £9 a pint.
Oh, fucking hell. Right, go on and Leigh. You're up next, bud.
Okay, I'm glad you left Ethan to last. He's laughing at his own joke. It must be good. Right. Okay, so my joke is an author writing a new book. He's traveling around the world looking for the greatest churches and religious buildings ever. So he starts off in Rome, goes to the Vatican. He's walking around the Vatican, looking at all the architecture, and he comes across a golden telephone on the wall. And above this golden telephone is a sign that says $10,000. So he calls over the priest. He says, excuse me, Father, he says, but I'm writing a new book about all the religious buildings in the world, and I just wonder what that golden telephone is for there. He says, that, my son, is a direct line to God, and it costs you $10,000 to make a phone call. He's like, oh, thank you, makes a note in his book. Then he goes off to Barcelona, the Sagrada Familia, looking around again, all the amazing architecture, sees the golden telephone again. Above the telephone, $10,000. Again, he calls someone over. He says, Father, he says, what's that golden telephone for? That, my son, is a direct line to God. It costs you $10,000 to make a call. He's like, right, okay. Goes to Brazil, sees the same thing. Everywhere he goes, he's seen these same golden telephones with a sign $10,000. He comes to Cardiff. He's in Llandaff, going around the cathedral. Sees the same golden telephone on the wall, but above it is a sign for 10 pence. He calls the father over. He says, excuse me, Vicar. He said, I can't help but say, I've traveled all over the world, and I've seen that golden telephone in every single church, basilica, and cathedral, but they all charge $10,000. Why is yours 10 pence? Oh, my son, you're in Wales now. It's a local call.
Your man's face. He's
confused.
Go on, Ethan. Let's finish off strong, man.
Right, so it's the Rugby World Cup final. Wales are playing the All Blacks. So guy gets his beers. He starts going up the tier. Gets there, looks at his ticket, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm in the wrong tier." So all the seats are ram-packed now. He's looking around and he's like, sees a seat next to this old fella. So he thought, oh, I'll try and pull a fast one there. So he's with his beers now, goes down. He says, oh, excuse me, mate. Can I sit with you? Yeah, no problem. Sit there. So the guy's like, oh, if you don't mind me asking, how you got an empty seat next to you? Goes, oh, well, what it is, my wife loved rugby as well, but she passed away recently. So the guy's like, oh, great, typical me now. I've asked him and his wife has died. So game goes on for a bit, whatever, Wales are winning. And he turns around and he goes, if you don't mind me asking again, mate, why didn't you get like one of your family members or a close friend and that to come with you? And he said, the thing is, but you're all at my missus' funeral.
I gotta be honest, boys. I think I was a shit show, to be honest. I don't know who to pick, to be honest.
I thought mine was awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the way you delivered it, Laurie. I maybe tickle a bit more than I should have.
Look at Robbie's not happy with that, is he?
Ooh. Love forever.
I was laughing at Rob.
At the end of it. Okay, so we now come on part of the podcast where we go. You two go head to head, boys. I'll ask you both a question, and you'll decide who's the best suited to the question. You ready?
Yeah.
Right. Who is the best dressed?
Gotta be me. I've seen you Trigger. Come on now, that's who you got for inspiration. It's going to be me.
What are you trying to say? I dress like my own man or what?
Yeah.
I don't. I say Laurie as well.
Who's the best dancer?
Laurie.
I don't. This is going to be really bad, and I'm going to say Ethan because then they'll keep an eye on you at the club.
Okay, if Lee's the best dancer, he must be terrible, Leith.
Exactly.
Who is the most injury prone?
Oh, that's me.
Laurie.
Yeah. I say
Who's the
comes to
fastest?
a highly trained athlete.
Who's the fastest?
Fastest? Yeah, me.
Laurie.
Who's the funniest?
Well, I just won the joke, so it's got to be me.
I would say me.
Yeah, go with that.
Who can drink the most on a night out?
Ethan, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, me.
Who is the most vain?
Laurie, he just called himself the best dressed.
Yeah, you're right, me.
Who's the toughest?
Oh, I don't know about that one.
I don't know.
All right, then, who would win in a fight?
Well, I think we're going to have to find out after this, don't we? Just to
Sorry,
test
like,
it.
oh, right.
Well, if I was to run, Laurie would catch me. So, fuck it. I stand there giving what I did about that.
Yeah. There we go. That'd be interesting. I don't think you'd win, Louise.
Scram him to death. Who is the best at rugby?
I would say Ethan. I just think about the different skills that we have from when we played to what they have now. Technically much better.
I'd say Laurie myself.
Are you saying that because I sponsor you?
No, I actually do remember roughly seeing who play like good player and can't take that away from you.
Oh, you've got a good memory, but that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I don't want to bring up the memory I saw mine when he was diving under the post.
Really? Did he have the ball?
Yeah, but the only thing, you can't pass off both hands.
No, I can't.
Neither can I.
You can write on some math.
I tell you what, Heath, between you and Brad, I got much better at it.
Yeah. You was the one who was teaching me in the end.
Yeah, I do as I say, you know, not as I do.
Right, nice, boys. We're going on to the quick fire round. So you'll have both 10 questions each, and I want the first answer that pops into your head. All right, so we'll start off with Leigh. If you could play another sport, what would it be?
Football.
Ethan?
Darts, eh?
What actor would play in a movie?
Daniel Craig.
Danny DeVito.
Your favourite word?
Audacious.
But.
Least favourite word?
Can't.
Burpee.
As a grim word.
Yeah.
Your best rugby memory.
For me, it was coaching the youth team. They lost all their games and they're getting closer and closer to winning. And then when they won their first game, they were just on the field celebrating for about 10 minutes, just running around, dancing and bouncing and laughing. It was really good.
It's a toss-up between playing a few games with my old man for the seconds, or it's the British winning a British plate with uni.
How was that close?
Yeah, I was just realising that, thinking about it.
Playing for Gilbert seconds or playing for the uni. Oh.
Yeah, playing up in ball for the seconds or playing in a full-on final, like.
You're stranded on a desert island. What 3 items would you take?
Definitely sun cream. Probably a football then to keep you entertained, but a castaway as well and become Wilson at the end. So when you go crazy, you can start talking to it. And probably a hammock to sleep in.
Nice.
A water filter. I could use my sock, I suppose.
Need that for other reasons.
Yeah. Well,
I know to put on your feet.
Was a radio, a battery powered one, and a can of Strongbow.
Just the one?
Oh, I forgot a pack of 20 and happy days.
Yeah. First thing you'd buy if you won the lottery?
Safe.
What?
A safe.
Oh, safe. A house. Good.
Nice, boys. Your favorite movie?
The Last Samurai.
Good film.
Goodfellas.
So crackers there, in all fairness. Your favorite song?
The Cave by Mumford and Sons.
Ethan?
Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses.
My favourite.
It's cracker. And if you had one last meal before death, what would it be?
I'd probably go Jamie Oliver, which is spinach and feta pie. Really nice.
Chinese I'd go for.
That might be the death of you.
Yeah, it might be in the end. But at least I'll go down eating something that I love, innit?
Exactly, but exactly. Okay, boys. We're going to go over the results from the weekend. So if we start off with Italy and Ireland, it was obviously going to go one way. What do you think of Saxon coming back into the fold?
I think he's the best outside half they got. He's still controlling. And I know there's an argument about, like, is he getting too old? You need to bring in new blood. And they will at some point, but Six Nations, you got to get some wins under your belt as well.
Yeah, he keeps the structure, doesn't he? I know Ireland, a very structured side anyway, that thrive off like set piece and that, but he is the general and he literally controls everything.
But he's getting old now, and you need that, that number 2 to come through now before it gets a bit too late.
Well, they obviously picked Billy Burns, but Joey Carberry's coming back from injury. I think he was on the bench for Munster on the weekend. So I think long term he is the next number 10. But you've got to look at like Paddy Jackson and that as well. He's playing well, but I don't know whether they're not looking at him because of what happened in the past. I don't know. I think he would be well suited as he's played for Ireland before as well.
Yeah. So what do you think about Italy at the moment then? Because people are always like slating them, saying they shouldn't be in the Six Nations. Georgia up and come in, wherever. But I think this Six Nations is the best they've played for years. To be honest, they got a bit of attacking flair on them. I think they need to work out on the defensive part of the game at the moment.
Well, they got a about 11 new caps, right? When they played our first game, which was against, who they play first of all? France, yeah? Yeah, France.
Yeah, France.
11 new caps. So, you know, obviously they knew, so they just started really. But, you know, I thought Ireland would put nearly 50 points on Saturday. I really did. Yeah, they're a bit off, I think, at the moment.
They show glimpses, don't they? Like, I think up front, they've been doing really well. Proper disruptive they are, aren't they? Like, they got Allegri, and I think they got Allegri and Negri in it.
Yeah.
Like, they're two good back rowers. And I know he's not Italian, Johan Maya, but he's still a good player. Like, especially against England. I know England put 40 points on them, but against a pack like the English, who thrive off the physicality and things like that, I thought Italy proper disrupted them, and they scored a try early on as well, didn't they? So it just goes to show that they can do it. It's just consistency through the game.
Yeah, and I think the standards have increased as well since they first come into the Six Nations. So they've got better every year, but the other teams have just got even better. So it is harder. And I hear that argument about Georgia coming in, but you had the November internationals, and Georgia didn't really do anything, and that was their opportunity to kind of prove themselves. So I don't think I would put Georgia instead of Italy at the moment.
No, I agree. I wouldn't either.
No.
So they were saying as well that the main reason why they won't put Georgia in the Six Nations is if they go out to Georgia during like February or whatever, you know, there's snow everywhere. So like the climate is just ridiculous out there. So that's one of the main factors why they won't go there. Like,
yeah, they made force a playoff or something in a year or two, where if whoever comes last in the Six Nations has to play. If it is Georgia then in the playoff.
There's an opportunity there for a second tier tournament, and then so like the loser or whoever has the wooden spoon in the Six Nations plays whoever finishes top of that tier 2.
Yeah,
I think that's the fairest way, because there is a couple of nations in Europe, like Romania have been about through few years, haven't they? Could possibly even look at like Uruguay getting involved.
well, Russia as well, isn't it? Russia's
Russia, Spain,
Portugal as well. Portugal go outside.
and I think Germany as well. Germany's up there. Sorry, Belgium. Belgium's up there as well.
Yeah.
Still a long way off, guys. Still a long way off.
Yeah, and I think the challenge is if you start introducing relegation, it changes the way teams play. Whereas if you know you're kind of there, you have a look at the best leagues in the world and the best tournaments, that there is no relegation in them. And I think if you start introducing that as a concept here, I think it could backfire a little bit.
Yeah, you've got a point there, though.
Yeah, true.
Let's talk about the big one, boys. Wales v England. I typically on Friday that we would beat them, but I didn't think we beat them by 40 points. We're convincing in the end. I know there was 2 controversial decisions by the ref, but you know, you just got, for the English people who are still complaining, you just got to read the news and read the papers. You know, at the end of the day, we put 40 points.
The first try, I was trying to look at it from a player scenario. You look at where Dan Biggar is and where the penalty's given and the time of the game. The obvious call there is going to be go for post, yeah? So if I know the ref told Farrell to go and speak to his team, but Farrell being the experienced test player that he is, should have thought, right, he's going to go for post here. There's the chance to speak to my team, rather than right go off, whatever. Because like Dan Biggar is always looking for that sort of move. Do you know what I mean? And he's always chirping at the ref as well. So players like Farrell should have realised this. But I think someone timed it between the time Farrell stopped speaking and the group separated to the time they started like actually drifting off. It was something like nearly 10 seconds. To us, it maybe watching on telly doesn't seem like that amount of time, but it should be enough time to get set, especially when you're on your own line ready. But you should play the ref and play the man as well.
The thing is as well, though, all right, the wingers should be there anyway. The person who tackled Josh Adams was George Ford,
Yeah,
and he should be in the middle of the field. So I was listening to a podcast the other day with Shane Williams explaining. Shane Williams was explaining that he wouldn't have come off our wing knowing that like Josh Adams is outside him. You know, you'd still be there, even if they do a quick tap and go. You know, at least he's got his man outside. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. When the penalty's given, they sort of like rush back to say, I don't know, 5 yards, but then they just sort of like stop dead. Like you know, if you, it could have been anything. Well, later on, they conceded a quick tap penalty, wasn't it? So, in those sort of scenarios as well, like if the situation was right, Kieran Hardy might have gone from there. You know, if they went back in time, lucky enough, they stumbled them 5 yards back. But I think Jamie Roberts nailed it on the head on scrum 5. Like he said basically the same. He said Farrell should know that you look at the situation, the penalties given in front of the post at the time. Ref has a signal for the post. So as far as we're concerned, it's free play, where it's a tap, scrum, crossfield kick or kick at goal. There's no signal. So like, fair play to Dan Bigger, like it's quick thinking and obviously like tormenting the ref as well.
What's the psychology part coming in there, isn't it? A very subtle question, but putting the pressure on him. I thought it was really clever by Dan Bigger.
Yeah.
And I would have been fuming if I was a coach or a player there. If I had English, I would be absolutely fuming.
Dan Bigger is very sharp, and let's be honest, he's very, very sharp. A brilliant rugby brain. I think he deserves really. I think he's a really good boy, good player.
Yeah. Let's be honest. If it happened to Wales, like we'd be fuming. But obviously, try and look at it from a neutral perspective. Then I think it's right. You know.
Yeah, and it's scrum 5 as well. It was interesting for me. Nigel Owens kind of looking at it and saying there's nothing in the rules to say he has to give you any time at all. So by the rule book, there was nothing wrong with it. But just from an ethical point of view, it's like that was a bit harsh.
Yeah.
But irrespective of the two decisions, and I mean Zamet's supposed knock on or not knock on. I mean, when he got to 20 for all, you know, from then on, it was all Wales, wasn't it? They really, you know. They took a green bit of scruff and they went on. We was all over England them last 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I did think that at times, Joe and England got a few phases together without a penalty or a knock on or whatever. They actually looked really dangerous. Obviously they scored 2 tries. I think Ben Young's try was a bit soft. But when he went through the phases, they looked really, really sharp and dangerous. But they let themselves down in the end. Like we all know, Itoje plays to the line. Obviously, they're going to look out for it, but I think at this particular game, he was just unlucky that the ref was just keeping a good eye on him. I think what he was doing was illegal, but he is so to the line, isn't he?
And again, that's probably Alan Wynne-Jones having discussions with the referees prior to the game, just to say, hey, look, keep an eye out for this type of stuff.
Yeah, and Alan Wynne-Jones have clamped down on his discipline this week compared to like the weeks before.
Yeah, he did.
I thought Alan Wynne was outstanding again. I think a lot of the Welsh players were. I mean, the first 2 games, you know, we didn't play that well really, but I think Saturday, you know, a lot of guys put their hands up for the Lions tour. There's no doubt about it.
And I think being Warren Gatland, you've got to be looking at that thinking, thank God they've come back and started playing good rugby, because he knows all these guys. And if they'd been playing badly like they were at November, it would have been hard push for him to kind of select these guys. So.
Yeah. I couldn't believe George North. I couldn't. I know it was his 100th cap and a big occasion and that, but he was outstanding for me. And Josh Adams. I thought Josh Adams' work rate off the ball was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, he had to have a big game, didn't he? Because of the mistake he made the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good shout.
He had something to prove, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I think Farto played his best game in about 2-3 years. He was doing a good game, a big game, and he was outstanding, I thought. He was a big match by country mile, I thought.
But even the bench as well. Sheedy was brilliant when he come on. Corey Hill was outstanding. I know he had a try as well. But
the hooker as well. The hooker, what's his name? The hooker from
Elliot D.
He was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant when he came on.
Yeah. I thought it was just a good all-round Welsh performance. I did.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Best they played in a while, like a good while.
So coming into form at the right time, all good.
Yeah,
Linking back to the concussion part, at the start of the podcast, if we link in like tackle technique and stuff like that, if you talk about Tiprick's tackle on Owen Farrell at the 75th minute, where Farrell just runs straight into him, and Tiprick just got low, wrapped his arms, got his head the right direction, and lifted him at the right time, put him down safely as well. I just thought it was a phenomenal tackle, and also as well the momentum just it continued for Wales then since that point.
yeah, defense. We should, even though Sean Edwards is gone, like obviously the boys that have been there, the more experienced players, then they know the score. No matter who comes in, like Gethin Jenkins is defense coach now, but you can imagine like a lot of the stuff implemented now is based off Sean Edwards' type of defense.
Right then, boys. Okay, that's the end of the podcast. So first of all, I'd like to thank our guests, Ethan and Laurie. Thank you very much for coming on, boys. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Connor. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, cheers, boys. Thank you.
So this has been Darkside and the Offside. We will be back with another episode next week. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.